Well, hello there. Barkey J. Dog here, up in the Yukon, as you can see. Uh, yeah, it's sure cold up here, and I don't mean maybe. Holy guacamole, my teeth are chattering away so fast, I sound like a teletype. Oh, it's so cold even the icicles have icicles. I came up here to dig for gold, but looks like I came at the wrong time of year, and in the wrong century. Well, anyway, I figure since I'm up here, I may as well bring you a movie review, namely 1935's Call of the Wild. That's right, we're going way back for this one. I watched it because it's about a dog, so I figured I'd like it. It's based on the famous novel by Jack London, but it only has a passing acquaintance with the book. London was telling a story in metaphor, that is, about dogs, but can equally apply to people. The idea being that an animal, or a human, will revert to a more wild, primitive state if removed from their pampered modern lifestyle. And it's true. We see that in animals and people, too. I mean, hey, I can get pretty wild. Out at the club on a Saturday night. Am I right, ladies? Am I right? Huh? Huh? They all want the Barkster, yeah. Oh, there is a silent version of Call of the Wild from 1923. That looks like the first adaptation on film, but what we're looking at is the first sound adaptation of the book. The movie starred the legendary Clark Gable and was directed by the great William Wellman. The book is about Buck, a domesticated dog who's owned by a rich dude. One day, when the rich dude was away, an employee sold the dog to get some money. The dog winds up going through several owners and is mistreated to the point he becomes vicious and hard to handle. Somewhere along the line, he becomes a sled dog in the Yukon. He finds kindness from his last owner, John Thornton, and they have some adventures while digging for gold. Eventually, he takes over a wolf pack and returns to the wild state from which all dogs originally came. Well, the movie skips most of that. This is a starring role for Clark Gable, and that was the point. He plays a gold hunter and tough outdoorsman, Jack Thornton. I guess Jack sounds more manly than John. He loses his stake playing cards, and then runs into his pal Shorty. Shorty got a glance at a map to a gold mine, but only sort of half remembers it. But Thornton takes a chance. He teams up with Shorty and sets out to get a stake to outfit a trip to the diggings. This is where he finds Buck and buys him. Now, this map actually belonged to somebody else, a tenderfoot city man and his wife. They were going north too, but got stuck in the wilderness. The husband goes off to find food and doesn't return. Thornton and Shorty come across the wife and save her from a wolf pack. The wife isn't in the book, by the way. The wife, Claire Blake, is played by Loretta Young. She had appeared in a bunch of movies at this point, but was still fairly new, so a young, fresh face. Naturally, Claire and Thornton fall in love. After all, he was a manly man, and she figured her comparatively weaker husband was dead, so why not? But it turns out that he isn't dead. He was found starving to death and rescued, and his return throws a monkey wrench into the romantic works. By then, the pair are digging up the gold, and the bad guy in the picture wants to steal it. Buck, the dog, is more or less just along for the ride. We get none of his backstory, and while they keep a few highlights from the book, this movie isn't really about Buck. It's about Clark Gable's character and the adventures of Thornton, Claire, and Shorty. During production, the crew got snowed in on location, and Loretta Young and Clark Gable were drawn to each other, and they wound up having an affair. So you might say that while they were making Call of the Wild called, and they answered. Understand, although we may not see it by today's standards, at the time, Clark Gable was considered a real handsome hunk, an ideal, a manly man that made all the girls swoon. Why, even Edith Keeler was hot for Clark Gable, and she was dating Captain Kirk. So you know that Gable must have been hot stuff. Naturally, nature took its course, and Young wound up heavy with child, and all this had to be hushed up. Gable was married at the time, so it would have been trouble for him, but he was a big star and might have weathered the scandal. It certainly would have ended Loretta Young's career. She was still new and not a major star or anything, and her whole shtick, her brand, if you will, was playing a goody two-shoes. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen her play anything other than a goody two-shoes. She had also signed a morality clause. This was something the studios made actors sign with their contract in order to keep them from doing things that would get them in trouble and give the studio a black eye. After all, if they were spending all that money to build up a star, it certainly wouldn't do for said star to go around carousing or getting drunk in public or making nudie pictures or whatever. If the star misbehaved like that, they were out, and probably couldn't get work at other studios to boot because they were labeled as trouble. This is a thing I wish they'd bring back, but for social media. It would help to keep celebrities from making asses of themselves online. Like this idiot. Anyway, when the picture wrapped, what she had to do was to take a vacation for her health. She was said to have gone to Europe to recuperate from the emotional strain of making movies. In reality, she moved into a house her mother had rented and had the baby. The child was placed in an orphanage. Then, in about a year or so, Loretta Young adopted a baby girl, her own, of course, and gave her a loving home. Wasn't that nice of her? Hard to understand today when immorality is something celebrities brag about, but that was the artifice necessary at the time. She went back to making pictures and married a guy later on, and everything was fine. Although it was kind of an open secret. The girl had Clark Gable's big ears. The little girl didn't know Gable was her father. One day, when she was 15, she came home from school to find Clark Gable was there in the living room. This being Hollywood, it was no big deal because celebrities often visited each other's homes. She said they had a nice, long conversation. He seemed really interested in what she did and her future plans and everything, and as he was leaving, he kissed her on the forehead and was gone. It was the only time they met. He didn't tell her the secret, and it wasn't until she was over 30, after Gable had died, that her mom told her the truth. Later, she wrote a tell-all book about not knowing she was Clark Gable's daughter, which caused a rift between her and her mom, but they got over it. The daughter went on to work in soap operas and became a producer on soaps. Anyway, getting back to the movie, Shorty is played by Jack Oakey. Oakey was a character actor who specialized in second banana, comedic, loyal sidekick type roles. Sometimes these characters can be really annoying, Oki was one of the better ones. He's pretty good here. I'm giving this one 2 3/4 paws. It's a fine Clark Gable adventure movie. He's in good form. Loretta Young is beautiful, and she has a good role here. You can see them becoming attracted to each other during the course of the picture, too. The movie is on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and digitally from Amazon. One word of caution here, there are a few versions of the picture. Originally, the movie was like 95 minutes. Most prints made for later release and television were cut down to 81 minutes, probably to cut out scenes implying hanky-panky between the characters. So, you want to look for a copy where the movie is at least 90 minutes. The so-called extended version on Amazon Prime is 91 minutes, probably the best you're gonna get. I'll try to remember to link to it below for you. Well, it's not the book. It's a great Clark Gable movie, so check it out! What? What? You want me to pull a sled? Are you crazy? I'm not gonna pull any damn sled.